everyone. Sorry, this is meteorologist Timmy Albertson here with you guys. Sorry, I accidentally had it set to private. That wouldn't have been very good now, wouldn't have been. So let's go ahead here. We got a lot to talk about. Of course, we got Tropical Storm Idalia all the way down out in the Yucatan Peninsula area. And we also have Hurricane Franklin that we are going to be talking about a little bit. Now, with that in mind, again, if you guys have any questions, you can always feel free to ask them. Otherwise, we'll just kind of chug our way on through here. And as mentioned, it's going to be kind of an interesting next, well, let's say, uh, 36 hours or so. Yeah, it's going to be pretty fun. We got a very strong, we got a very good possibility of a hurricane making landfall in Florida. Uh, and that'll be probably sometime Wednesday morning. Otherwise, yeah, not quite sure where I'm going with that. All right, still going to be a good stuff nonetheless. All right, so there you see it at the screen here. There's this tropical storm Idalia right now on the western tip of Cuba. It does look like that its center may have actually kind of gone just right over the western tip, so maybe it kind of just temporarily kept it from reaching hurricane status as of the last advisory, but it is expected nonetheless to make hurricane status later on tonight. And it'll gradually intensify, becoming a hurricane overnight tonight, and then maybe a Category 3 hurricane as it heads close to Florida. So certainly will be an interesting one to keep an eye on. It's probably going to be making a landfall sometime around, probably early Wednesday morning, and it's going to do so right kind of at the elbow there of Florida. So that will certainly be an interesting one to keep an eye on. With that in mind, we also have Hurricane Franklin out in the ocean. So let's go ahead and take kind of a look over here at Franklin. Franklin now has winds of 150 miles an hour. It looks very good on the satellite imagery, very, very well defined. Again, hard to believe that a couple days ago, this was the one that was getting beat up by the wind shear that was north of the island of Hispaniola. So, but now it's out of that atmosphere. It's kind of on its own at the moment, and that has really helped it to intensify quite a bit, and it's likely going to continue to intensify a little bit as we head into the overnight hours. So just kind of a quick update there on what is going on with the tropics. So we do actually have hurricane warnings that are in effect, and they are in effect along the Florida coastline. Franklin is going to be staying out in the open waters, will likely not be impacting anyone. Well, let me rephrase that. Will likely not really be impacting land directly, though it'll probably pass to the north of the island of Bermuda. And Bermuda could be seeing some tropical storm force winds from that, which is why they do have a tropical storm warning that is in effect. But it looks like the center of Franklin will stay to the north of the island of Bermuda. So Bermuda kind of missing a direct hit with that. But again, as mentioned, Florida is going to be a different story, and that is going to be with Idalia. So if we flip over really quickly to the radar imagery, we'll take kind of a look at the current warnings that are in effect all along the Florida coast. Whoop, that's the wrong graphic. Alrighty, hold on a second, everyone. There we go. That's the graphic we want. All right, this is the current setup in Florida right now. Hurricane warnings in effect, and those go from Acela all the way down to Tampa and over to Apalachicola there along the Florida coastline. The hurricane warnings also go a little bit inward. That includes Gainesville, Madison, Perry, and a couple counties there in southern Georgia. Hurricane watches are that pink color that you see there. That includes Lake City and then other parts of southern Georgia. And the yellow color that you see, those are tropical storm warnings. Those are in effect for Orlando all the way down to Cape Coral and Naples, as well as parts of the Florida Panhandle just southeast of Panama City. So a lot of things going to be happening here over the next 36 hours. And again, storm surge is going to be a possibility here. I believe I actually have the graphic from the National Weather Service here of the predicted storm surge all the way down towards Chassahowatsgiga. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that town name. It's the first time I've ever heard of that town name, by the way. But there you go. Storm surge about 12 feet there. And for those of you who don't know what storm surge is, well, it's the winds basically pushing the ocean inland a little bit there. And again, kind of leads to, I guess, what you could kind of consider coastal flooding, but obviously on a kind of much larger scale there. And naturally, that's also going to be coming with the winds. So certainly going to be kind of a stormy, time over in that part of the Florida area. So there's a lot of things to talk about when it comes to this tropical system here. And, one of the big ones, of course, is that, it is Florida, it is hurricane season, so this is nothing necessarily record breaking. It is just going to be right now expected to be a Category 3 hurricane at landfall, though, of course, keep in mind that things can change with these storms. If we were to go ahead and flip on the old track here of Adelia, and we'll take a look at it here, it's what's in red, and if you don't mind, I'm actually going to go ahead and remove some of these warnings here so we can kind of see it, at least the track a little bit clearer here. We'll go ahead and flip off the warnings and the watches for this system here, and let's just take a look at its track overall. So if we zoom out a little bit, what we got going on is there's Adelia right down on the western tip there of Cuba. This cone that you see here is called is more or less kind of a somewhat of a cone of uncertainty, and that's where we expect the center to be. Now, obviously, the effects of a tropical system can extend well beyond the cone sometimes, and that is kind of what you see already down here. So the cone does not mean that's where hurricane conditions are going to be. The cone is where the center could be, and especially on the eastern side of tropical systems, at least in the northern hemisphere, the eastern half tends to be the stronger side. So again, you can kind of see those effects extending outwards from that cone. So likely going to become a Category 1 hurricane overnight tonight. Will continue to intensify as we go into the overnight hours. By early tomorrow afternoon, Hurricane Center is expecting it will be a Category 2 hurricane with winds of about 105 miles an hour, maybe gusting up to about 125 miles an hour at times. It'll probably intensify further as we go through the day tomorrow, and by tomorrow night could be a Category 3 hurricane of 128 mile an hour winds. It'll then make its landfall sometime going into early Wednesday morning, where it will then weaken as it makes its way overland, becoming a tropical storm by the time it gets to Charleston, South Carolina. And then right now it's expected to go back out into the open waters, but generally just take an easterly course. So kind of an interesting system nonetheless. And it will be very interesting to kind of keep an eye on. So again, right now looking like it's mainly going to be the Florida area. So with that in mind, just kind of wanted to give you all guys a quick little update here with what is going on in the tropics. Of course, we'll be keeping an eye on this system as we go forward. Especially beginning tomorrow evening and going into Wednesday morning. We'll cover this pretty well. There's a couple of buoys that could be getting some direct hits or near direct hits, so we should get some interesting video from that. And obviously, with it making landfall in Florida, we'll have some good information that kind of filter its way in through. So it should be some interesting videos we could be getting from maybe some remote cameras up around the Florida coastline. So certainly going to be very interesting nonetheless. All right, everyone, it's about 9 o'clock in the evening over in Eastern time. Again, we got a little bit of a late start. We had a AWS meeting that went a little bit long, but that's quite all right. Some exciting news coming up in the future, so you're going to want to make sure you stick around for that. If you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe to this page, as well as our Facebook pages for our various states. And as mentioned, we'll keep you guys updated here, but make sure, again, tomorrow you keep checking in. We're going to have multiple updates here about Adelia. And again, we'll keep kind of a close watch on it, and it could be pretty interesting Tuesday night going into Wednesday morning up and down the Florida coast. So with that in mind, I thank you all very much for taking the time to join me on this very, very, very quick weather chat with Timmy tonight. Tomorrow's will be longer. I assure you, if you guys have any questions, make sure you think of them then. But until such time, I hope you all have a good rest of your evening and look forward to seeing you back here tomorrow evening for Weather Chat with Timmy.